Well, it would seem that the England manager search is properly underway in light of the last week and the 2 matches in the Nations League, which possibly were a bit of a red flag for the FA. The Sun reporting today that...
It makes me think that Carsley had the job.
Well, I mean...
If he wanted it, if he'd won these games, he'd have had the job. It makes me think they didn't have another plan.
Well, some reporting today that he's been told he hasn't got the job, which may explain some of the comments he made after the Finland game. Alex Crook, our chief football correspondent, has popped in. Good afternoon, Crookie.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. So, here we are then, and we go back to the drawing board and we look at the kind of candidates that were there before. We've had Pep overnight on Italian telly in his little Samp hat.
Nice.
Talking about, I don't know, who knows what can happen in life, being a bit sort of vague about it. And now we've got this story, Sky reporting that that Tuchel's been has been spoken to.
Yeah, the Guardiola stuff got us all a little bit excited, didn't it? Yeah. But I think it was important to stress that communication was right at the start of the summer, just to sound him out about his plans going into the final year of his Manchester City contract. I understand there's still no definitive decision from Guardiola. City, I think, would be willing to entertain the idea of giving him a 1-year rolling contract so he could extend at the end of each season for as long as he wishes to. I think they're pretty relaxed about the situation, although they would be hoping, I think, for an answer in terms of what he wants to do by the end of the year. In terms of England, it always seemed a little bit fanciful. He earns £20 million a year at Manchester City, 4 times what the FA were paying Gareth Southgate. Now, I know money probably is not the main motivator. How much money does one man need? But that's still a significant drop in wages. Having said that, he's made no secret the fact, Pep Guardiola, that he would like to manage internationally one day. It probably wouldn't be with Spain, bearing in mind his loyalty to Catalonia. So maybe this could be the perfect sliding doors moment. But focus, as you say, seems today to have switched to Thomas Tuchel. Talks, we understand, underway. I was told this morning there were only tentative talks at this stage, but could well develop quickly. Unlike Guardiola, Tuchel is available, because the other issue with Guardiola is that he's contracted to City until the end of what will be an extended season because of the Club World Cup, so he wouldn't be available in March, when at the moment England will get their World Cup qualifying campaign underway. They could be Nations League playoffs if they finish second in their group, which would be a bit of a disaster. He wouldn't be available for the June internationals either, so that's not ideal. Tuchel is available. We're told there's no compensation issues when it comes to Bayern Munich. So I think we can say that he is a leading contender at this stage. I think there's still a lot of England fans who would prefer an Englishman in charge. Eddie Howe, as of this lunchtime, has had no contact from the FA to see what his plans are. And I guess that's understandable because he's contracted to Newcastle. So if they were to make any approach, they would be in danger of breaching their own rules. So at the moment, I think Tuchel looks the most likely option. But it comes with risk attached, doesn't it, when you look at the way that he tends to leave jobs and maybe his lack of ability to manage upwards.
That's right. Fletcher's been playing a clip from our own Andy Brassel from yesterday, and he was very sceptical about it for that reason, Alex, that he thinks he's not great at managing upwards. He is quite prickly. He's quite prickly with the press, and, you can see how quickly things can turn after that Greece game. All that goodwill's gone in a second, isn't it? There's so much pressure and so much scrutiny on the job.
Yeah, and I feel a bit sorry for Lee Carsley, actually, because I'm not sure he was entirely prepared for the scrutiny that comes with being England manager, albeit only on an interim basis. I think he's been quite clumsy with some of the language that he's used in the media to come out after that Greece game and admit, even if it were true, that he only had 20 minutes to practice that false number 9. You should never really be admitting that in public.
Don't say 20 minutes. Even if you've only done 20 minutes, don't say 20 minutes.
We thought we gave it a go. We thought we'd try it in the match. It did feel very naive, didn't it?
Yeah, really? It did. And I think he's caught the FA a little bit by surprise with the mixed messages he's been sending out. Does he want the job? Does he want to go back to the under-21? So I do think that's probably why things are now accelerating. I still think Carsley will be in charge for the Nations League games in November. So I think that March international break, be it a World Cup qualifier, be it a Nations League playoff, that's when they want the new man in situ.
There's 2 other people in the frame. There's Graham Potter, but you would ask if they wanted Graham Potter, they could have appointed him before they appointed Lee Carsley because he was out of work and available.
And said he wanted to do it. Didn't he? He did say he wanted the job.
Has he openly said it?
On telly, he's more or less said he wants to do it, and of course of course he wants to do it.
When out-of-work managers start appearing on Monday Night Football,
a bit of a
they're trying to get themselves back in the spotlight. So I agree with you. I think if they wanted Graham Potter, they'd have made that approach. And again, I checked in after the Greece game with sources close to Potter, and there'd been no contact with him either.
Frank Lampard's the other one we discussed yesterday.
Not for me.
Yeah, I mean, look, he has got club experience. He was a kind of great England player.
I think the difference between Lampard and Carsley is that Lampard would have the courage in his own convictions. He would believe he can be a great England manager. I'm not sure Lee Carsley's quite there yet.
No. I mean, beyond that, I mean, when you look at, basically the betting drops off a cliff. You have 3 or 4 people and then suddenly you're in the madhouse if you look at the Paddy Power odds. So
Harry Redknapp's in there somewhere, isn't
he? They're always on. Curbs is always there. But it's there's not that many obvious candidates, is there?
No, there aren't. And I think, actually, I've done a piece for the talkSPORT website assessing all the strengths and weaknesses of the top 4 contenders that we've mentioned there. And all of them have questions to answer. If you take Eddie Howe, for example, obviously hasn't won a trophy. I would argue that actually what he's done at Newcastle, taking them from relegation candidates into the Champions League, is akin to winning a trophy, but he lacks silverware, hasn't really had to deal with massive name players, although you could argue there aren't that many massive egos in the England dressing room, maybe the exception being Jude Bellingham. Thomas Tuchel is a serial winner, a Champions League winner, but as I say, he tends to fall out with people quite easily and just doesn't seem to be that stereotypical FA appointment. Graham Potter, I think a lot of England fans would need convincing after what happened at Chelsea. I think he did a lot of damage to his reputation there. And
didn't get given long there, though, did he?
No, but again, he didn't seem to deal with the scrutiny very well and the pressure that comes with managing a big club. So for me, that would be a red flag if it came to him being England manager.
The pressure shows because Tuchel's just being spoken about. It's been spoke to today by all accounts, and here we are. Everyone's talking about it. It's Tuchel. It's going to happen.
But I think he can handle that. He's not thick enough skin, isn't he?
The whole thing seems to me so panicky by the FAs. Like, you probably knew that Gareth Southgate was not going to go on beyond the last tournament, beyond the Euros. And so you go, surely you get your ducks in a row. You get a succession in place.
Well, I think ideally they would love Lee Carsley to have been able to step up because it justifies
that
process.
Yeah, but then if you look at the job advert that they put out when they were seeking applicants, one of the key stipulations is that the successful candidate would have experience either in the Premier League or in a top international tournament.
And Lee
Carsley's not done that. So
yeah.
You could argue that they never planned to appoint him in the first place. I'm with Charlie. I think we all went over to Germany expecting Gareth to stand down at the end of that tournament, whatever the outcome. I think probably if they'd lost to Slovakia, he'd have had to do a Kevin Keegan and resign on the spot, and he was only a few seconds away from that. But if we all thought that, I presume the players thought that, Gareth Southgate would have given his paymaster at the FA some kind of indication this would be his last tournament. I think they should have already had a succession plan in place.
Before we let you go, there's another story today. Manchester United decided to terminate a contract they had with Sir Alex Ferguson. He's an ambassadorial role, which apparently paid £2 million a year. Now, he's advancing in age. He probably can't get round the country, round the world, being an ambassador as much as he did. But the optics of it are not great, are they?
No, I think it's been handled a little bit clumsily. The fact it's come out in the media before United have had chance to formally announce it, I think is a little bit of an issue, and it has split opinion amongst Manchester United fans. There are some who are saying it's a disgrace to treat a club legend, arguably the best manager, certainly one of the 2 best managers in United's history, in this manner. There are others, and I probably tend to fall down on this side of the argument, and think, well, actually, he's been earning £2 million a year for the last 12 years now since he stepped down as manager. Maybe the time is right to move on. And again, you talk about optics. Ineos have come in and made some big cost-cutting decisions. They've not been widely well received, I'm told, by long-standing staff members, taking away packed lunches for casual matchday staff. If you're going to do that in one breath, you can't keep paying someone to wave from the director's box £2 million a year in another. So harsh decisions have to be made. As I say, I think they could have handled it a lot better. Sir Alex will be a club legend. I'm sure he's still going to be a regular in the director's box. But again, I mentioned it to Simon earlier, and he disagreed with me. Might not be a bad thing if he is less visible at Old Trafford, because it's like
the cameras always
it's like
find
a shadow hanging over whoever is in the dugout.
As soon as they're down, they find him.
They find him in the stands, don't they? As soon as a goal goes in.
And if you're Eric Ten Hag, you stand on the touchline at Old Trafford. You're looking directly at the Sir Alex Ferguson stand. You've got Sir Alex Ferguson looking at you from above.
If you were David Moyes, you did. If you were Mourinho, you did.
And you have to be a fairly strong personality to deal with that. And actually, you go back to when Sir Matt Busby stepped down. All of the managers that succeeded him struggled with the ghost of Sir Matt Busby hanging over them until Ferguson turned up.
Yeah, that's true. You've got the Manchester United YouTube show, haven't you? So
we have.
Where can people check that out?
Yeah, we just recorded that this morning, so we talk a lot about the Fergie situation. We look ahead to Brentford. We got a Danish football expert talking about Rasmus Højlund and Thomas Frank, actually, a possible contender for United. Of course, he gets a chance to audition for that job on Saturday when Brentford come to Old Trafford, and that'll be available on the talkSPORT YouTube channel probably from around about tea time tonight.
Nice one. Thank you, Alex. Thanks for popping in.
Thanks, guys.
Chief football correspondent Alex Crook there.
Paul Hakwsbee and Andy Jacobs, Monday to Friday afternoons 1 till 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.